going to go over all the books that I probably won't read in July. I feel like I very rarely stick to my monthly TBRs, but I want to. I'm such a mood reader, so it's very hard for me to actually stick to my TBR because I don't know what mood I will be in during the month that I'm filming these TBRs. It's very hard for me to actually stick to these, but hopefully in July I will actually get through these books because I want to, and I've been wanting to for a while. The first book that I want to read is one that I completely forgot I owned, and I was reorganizing all my bookshelves and noticed that I had this book and that I actually never read it, so I'm reading it in July, hopefully. And that book is Never Never by Colleen Hoover and Tarryn Fisher. So it's two authors. I feel like everyone here knows who Colleen Hoover is. I actually have never read a book from Tarryn Fisher, so this will be the first time. I absolutely love the cover, it's so pretty. So this book follows Charlize and Silas, who I guess have been best friends since they were little, and they've been in love since the age of 14, but something happens that makes them like grow apart and they're no longer together. Wait, nope, that's not what this is about. This book follows two characters. Stop laughing at me. This book follows two characters, Charlize and Silas, who I guess have been best friends since forever, and they've been in love since the age of 14. But something happens and they wake up one day and they don't remember each other. They don't remember their first kiss, that they know each other. They don't remember that they were in love, absolutely nothing. So they have to work together to basically figure out what happened to them and why they can't remember each other. And then I guess through them actually learning or remembering that they were together, they start to realize that maybe they shouldn't have been together. I guess they were a little toxic for one another. I don't really know what to expect with this book because I haven't heard many people talk about it, and I think it's a fairly newer release for Colleen Hoover. It was first published in 2017, but I think it was only available online, and then they just published it in book format this year. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what happened. I'm excited because I really do enjoy Colleen Hoover's writing. I know she's kind of controversial here on YouTube, but I enjoy her writing. And then the next book that I want to read in July is the fifth book in the Shatter Me series. So this is Defy Me. This picks up right after the last one ended. I'm not going to read the synopsis on this book because I don't want to read the whole series in case you haven't read it yet, but this series basically follows Juliet. She has a special gift or curse, depending on how you want to see it, where if she touches someone, they automatically die. And all her life she's been alone, and there's a new world order, a new government called the Reestablishment, who wants to use her gift for their own benefit. And obviously Juliet doesn't want that. She doesn't want to use her power to harm people. So the series is basically her learning how to accept who she is, learning how to use her power for good, and standing up against the Reestablishment. There's so many good characters in this series. I really enjoy Juliet's character, although I do find her annoying at times. I do enjoy her character. Warner has my absolute heart. Kenji also has my absolute heart. I need a book just featuring Kenji because his personality is everything. So I'm really excited to continue this series, and I think I only have one more book, maybe two more books after this one, and I'll be done with the entire Shatter Me series, which makes me kind of sad because I have enjoyed reading this series so much, and I've been like delaying me finishing it for months now. I never want it to end. And then a book that I wanted to read last month and just never got around to reading it is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. This was actually in my June TBR, and like I said, I just never got around to reading it. And this one is the second book in the Part of Your World series, which I did read about 2 months ago, and I think I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it, but I'm so excited to read this one because it actually follows a character that I fell in love with in Part of Your World, and that is Dr. Brianna Ortiz. This is basically her book. Her character is absolutely everything. She's sassy, very smart, funny, loved everything about her. So I just know that this book is going to be amazing, and it basically follows her and another doctor, Jacob Maddox, who I guess they don't really get along all that well when they first meet, but Jacob actually ends up donating his kidney to Brianna's brother, who is very sick and is on the verge of death. I guess Dr. Jacob Maddox offers his own kidney for her brother. She starts to see him in a different light, obviously. obviously, and I've heard a lot of good things about this book. A lot of you guys have actually raved about this book and said that it was 10 times better than Part of Your World. So very excited to start this one. I'm going to read this one in July. If it's the last thing I do, I'm going to read that one. And then the next 2 books that I want to read are actually going to be featured in a vlog that I want to film this month. I'm not going to say exactly what the vlog will be. You can probably guess by these 2 books. And I also have 2 more books that are on the way that I will be featuring in that reading vlog as well. But these are the 2 books that I currently have. The first one is The Way I Used to Be by Amber Smith. This one is very different from the books that I usually read, because I normally read like romantic comedies or fantasy books, or just books that are not super deep and are kind of lighthearted. Those are my favorite types of books. But this one is a little bit more deep because it focuses on a main character who was sexually assaulted by her older brother's best friend. It's basically told in 4 different parts, and each part correlates to her high school year. So it follows her from freshman year to senior year, and it basically shows how that night where she was abused changed her life completely and has affected her. And I know that this is going to tug at my heart, and I just thought it would be a good change of pace. Hopefully I don't regret that, but I just needed a little break from my typical romance books, so I plan to read this pretty early in July, and I've heard really good things about it. And apparently there's a sequel coming out this year based on the main character in this book, so I'm curious to see how that goes. But I'll let you guys know what I think about this book, and the cover is really pretty. And then the second book is another book that I typically wouldn't gravitate towards, but like I said, I just want a little break from my typical romance books, and the book is You Be Home Now by Kathleen Glasgow. This is a YA book, and it follows Emery. For all of Emery's life, she's been told who she is. Everything was turned on its head though when she and her brother Joey were in the car accident that killed Candy Montclair. The car accident that revealed just how bad Joey's drug habit was. 4 months later, Emmy's junior year is starting. Joey is home from rehab, and the entire town is still reeling from the accident. Everyone is still telling Emmy who she is, but so much has changed. How can she be the same person? Was she ever that person at all? Emmy has always thought that people live one story, but she's beginning to see that people are more than they appear to be. People like her brother who might not be cured, like the popular guy who lives next door, and most of all, like the many ghostly addicts who haunt the edges of the town. And now it might just be time to decide for herself who she is. So I guess this book is supposed to explore how it is for the family of someone who is addicted to like drugs, and it's supposed to be very heartbreaking and sad. So I don't know if I'm ready to read this. I feel like this one's going to make me cry. We shall see how it goes. And then another book that was actually featured in my June TBR, I think it was featured in my June TBR video. I started this book last month in June and ended up DNFing it 100 pages in. I just don't think I was in the right mood or mindset to finish it, so I was kind of struggling to get into the story. But I do want to read this in July and hopefully finish out the series. I think there's 2 more books after this one, or 3 more books after this one apparently. So hopefully I can finish the series before the summer is over. Basically, this is a YA fantasy book, and it follows a character named Mare who is believed to be a red blood her entire life with no special powers or anything special really. In this book, society is divided between 2 types of people, the red bloods and the silver bloods. The silver bloods are like the elite. They have these special powers, these special abilities, and they actually use the red bloods as slaves because, like Mare, they have no special abilities of their own, so they're kind of just doing everything that the silvers tell them to do. They build the cities, they're used as maids, they're used in war, basically slaves for the silvers. And then in the first book, Mare discovers that she actually has a special ability of her own, so she's not a simple red blood anymore, and she wants to use her powers and her newfound abilities to stand up for the red bloods and to revolt against the silvers. So I think the series is just going to get better with each book, so hopefully I will get to this one this month. We shall see. And then there's a couple books that I want to read on Kindle, and I have them right here. So the first book that I want to read on Kindle is The Summer House by Carrie Beavis. It's actually a thriller, so it goes, Mead House was once our childhood home. Despite my fears, I always knew we would have to return to face the demons of our past. Back to the place where it happened, to where as carefree teenagers we lost our elder sister in the most brutal of circumstances. As executors of our grandmother grandmother's will, my twin brother Ali and I needed to empty the house for resale. What I didn't expect to discover was my sister's secret journal that contained her most private thoughts and shocking dark secret. Now I am questioning everything that I saw that night. Did I get it wrong? Who I saw? Did my evidence send an innocent man, my then boyfriend's brother, to jail for the last 17 years? I know I have no choice. If I want to find answers, I will have to go back to that fateful night my sister died, when she made her last visit to the summer house. I haven't heard much about this book. I haven't seen a lot of people talk about it, but I saw it on the Kindle App Store and I just thought it sounded very intriguing, and I wanted to throw in a thriller into my June TBR. Again, give myself a break from romances, at least for a couple weeks. And this one seems like it's going to be very interesting, so hopefully it has me on the edge of my seat and hopefully it's good. The second book that I want to read on Kindle is Bright Side. I've actually seen this book everywhere. It's by Kim Holden. I saw it everywhere last year. It's not a new release, but I've heard that it's very heartbreaking, so I don't know how I feel about it. It goes, Kate's life has been anything but typical. She's endured hardship and tragedy, but through it all she remains happy and optimistic. There's a reason her best friend Gus calls her Brightside. Brightside is her nickname. Kate is strong-willed, funny, smart, and musically gifted. Love her already. She's also never believed in love. So when Kate leaves San Diego to attend college in the small town of Grant, Minnesota, the last thing she expects to is fall in love with Keller Banks. Oh, so this is a small town romance. I like it. They both feel it, but they each have a reason to fight it. They each have a secret, and when secrets are revealed, some will heal you and some will end you. Interesting. Well, it has a really high rating on Goodreads. It's like a 4.32, and that's pretty high. So I feel like a lot of people love this book, and I'm interested to see if it's going to live up to the hype. The next book that I want to read is a very different from anything I typically read. It's actually a historical fiction book, and the book is called The Second Mrs Astor by Shauna Abe. And I guess this one is about a couple who's actually on board the Titanic, and it's basically their love story from when they meet for the first time, from when they're married, and then when they're actually on the Titanic. I don't know, I haven't really heard a lot of people talk about this one either, so I don't really know what to expect. But honestly, the premise sounded very interesting, and I read The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've actually been reading a lot of Taylor Jenkins Reid books, and a lot of her books are historical fiction, so I do want to read more books in that genre. So I'm hoping that this one is good. And I haven't read anything from this author, but why are you staring at me? That's awkward. But I feel like this one's going to be a pretty good read. It has a lot of good reviews on Goodreads, so that's always a good sign. Those are all the books that I want to read in the month of July. Let me know in the comments below what your July TBR consists of. I would love to know. And I really hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. If you did, don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I would love to have you a part of my channel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye guys.